Throughout history, some predictions have defied logic and surprised those who studied them. Figures like Nostradamus left writings that, for many, seemed to predict events that would only occur centuries later. Although many skeptics dismiss these prophecies as coincidences or misinterpretations, the fact remains that some of them align eerily with real events. What makes these predictions so intriguing is how certain details seem to coincide with the present, raising doubts about how much we truly understand about time and its workings. Among so many predictions, some stand out for the global impact they could have. Wars, technological advances, natural disasters, and drastic political changes are just some of the themes that appear in these prophecies. If, throughout history, we have already witnessed events that seem to have been written centuries ago, could we be approaching another series of occurrences that have already been foretold? Hello, restless minds. I'm Code, and this is Discover It, where curiosity knows no limits. Subscribe and help the channel grow, because every time you like, comment, or share, you're helping us bring these discoveries to more people. Together, we can create a community where curiosity can change the world. And now, without further ado, let's get into the video. Throughout the centuries, Nostradamus made predictions that seemed to anticipate major global conflicts. Among them, one of his most feared prophecies suggests the outbreak of a new world war, an event that could redefine the course of humanity. According to his enigmatic quatrains, this war would begin approximately 79 years after the end of World War II, placing its possible occurrence very close to the present. His writings speak of territorial disputes, unexpected alliances, and a conflict that would quickly spread, involving multiple nations. But what could be the spark for an event of such magnitude? Asia appears as a possible epicenter of tension, with a mention of an enemy in red who will turn pale with fear. Many scholars associate this description with China, a rising power that has been expanding its economic and military influence in recent years. The dispute over control of the South China Sea, the issue of Taiwan, and its rivalry with the United States are just some of the factors that could trigger a conflict. The prophecy also mentions the great wave that will shake the ocean, which could indicate naval battles or the impact of strategic attacks on coastal regions. Could this be a prediction of a modern war fought both at sea and in cyberspace? Beyond Asia, Europe also appears in the writings as a continent that will face turbulent times. Nostradamus mentioned a period of isolation for England, which many interpret as a reflection of Brexit and the economic difficulties the country has been facing. Political instability within the European Union, combined with internal conflicts in various nations, could pave the way for new alliances and rivalries that reignite old tensions. Given this scenario, is it possible that the prophecy is suggesting a war that will not only be fought on the battlefield, but also behind the scenes of geopolitics and the global economy? Another worrying detail is the mention of a devastating plague emerging in the midst of the conflict. During World War I and World War II, disease outbreaks further worsened the situation for the affected populations, and Nostradamus suggests that something similar could happen again. In an increasingly interconnected world, the spread of biological agents, whether intentional or accidental, could play a crucial role in the unfolding of this possible confrontation. At a time when pandemics have already demonstrated their ability to paralyze entire nations, this element of the prophecy becomes even more unsettling. If Nostradamus truly predicted a third world war, the lingering question is, are we heading toward an inevitable fate, or is there still time to change the course of history? Among Nostradamus's most intriguing predictions, one seems to point directly to space, specifically to Mars. His writings speak of a celestial fire and the weakening of the light of Mars, suggesting a cosmic event of great impact. For centuries, this prophecy has been interpreted in various ways, but in modern times, it has taken on a new meaning. With the space race in full swing and ambitious projects aimed at colonizing the Red Planet, many believe Nostradamus foresaw challenges or even a tragedy involving space exploration. But what could this event be? Currently, Mars is the ultimate goal of several space agencies and private companies. NASA, the European Space Agency, and companies like SpaceX have invested billions of dollars in developing technologies to make the planet's colonization a reality. Elon Musk, one of the biggest enthusiasts of this idea, has already stated that a manned mission could take place in 2025, with plans to establish a self-sustaining colony by 2050. However, the prophecy suggests that something could go wrong in this process. The mention of the weakening of the light of Mars could indicate communication failures, a major solar storm, or even a catastrophe involving astronauts. What could be behind this prediction? Another passage in Nostradamus's writings mentions a power unknown that descends upon the royal throne, which some interpret as the arrival of something unexpected on the red planet. Although it seems like a vague description, some theories suggest this could indicate the discovery of extraterrestrial life, whether in the form of microscopic organisms or even something more advanced. The search for signs of life on Mars has been a priority for scientists, with probes analyzing the soil composition and the presence of frozen water. If something were indeed found, how would that change humanity's perspective on the universe and our own place within it? Beyond the scientific and technological challenges, there is also the risk of a natural disaster on Mars. The planet is frequently hit by dust storms that can cover its entire surface for months, drastically reducing visibility and the efficiency of solar panels. Such an event could compromise human missions and endanger the lives of astronauts. Could Nostradamus have foreseen one of these phenomena occurring at a critical moment in colonization? If the Mars prophecy is correct, humanity's advance into space may face even more complex challenges than we can imagine. But would this mean the end of the dream of exploring other planets, or just another obstacle to be overcome? Nostradamus left numerous predictions that seem to describe a future where humanity would face unprecedented technological challenges. In one of his writings, he mentions an intelligence created by man that will turn against its creators, something many interpret as a reference to the advancement of artificial intelligence. Today, AI has already become a fundamental part of society, from virtual assistants to systems that control financial markets and security networks. But to what extent can this technology evolve before it becomes a real risk? Artificial intelligence has advanced rapidly, being used in sectors such as medicine, defense, and economics. Algorithms predict pandemics, control military drones, and even make autonomous decisions in the financial market. However, experts warn that the growing autonomy of these systems could lead to dangerous scenarios. Nostradamus mentioned a silent revolt and machines that will know no mercy, raising a troubling question. Could AI surpass the limits of human control? The possibility of AI reaching the so-called superintelligence is one of the greatest concerns of our time. This concept describes a system that not only equals but surpasses human intelligence in every aspect. If this happens, AI could make decisions that even its creators would be unable to understand, potentially leading to an irreversible loss of control. Nostradamus speaks of a war without soldiers and battles fought from a distance, which can be interpreted as the increasing use of autonomous weapons and AI-driven cyberattacks. Are we approaching a point where conflicts will no longer depend on human action? Beyond military risks, there is also the social impact of extreme automation. With AI replacing millions of jobs, many economies could collapse, increasing inequalities and triggering social crises. Nostradamus mentioned a time when workers will be forced to wander aimlessly, which could be associated with massive job losses due to automation. Technological advancement has always brought change, but are we prepared for a world where humans become obsolete in various roles? Nostradamus' predictions about artificial intelligence raise fundamental questions about the future of humanity. Are we creating a tool that will help us evolve, or a system that may one day decide we are no longer necessary? Among Nostradamus' prophecies, many relate to major conflicts and global changes, but some predictions seem to touch on unexpected aspects of modern society. One of his quatrains mentions a lion that will fall due to greed, while the rooster will rise over the ruins, which some enthusiasts believe is related to the world of football, specifically the Premier League. The reference to the lion could be linked to the English League symbol, while the rooster might represent Tottenham Hotspur, a club whose emblem features a rooster standing on a football. But how could a 16th century prophecy have anything to say about modern football? In recent years, the Premier League has faced increasing financial and regulatory challenges. Smaller clubs struggle to compete with the massive revenues of the wealthiest teams, while investigations into financial rule violations have become more frequent. Recently, Crystal Palace, a club with a long tradition, has faced economic difficulties, leading to speculation about forced player sales. The mention of the Lions' ruin could indicate a prestigious club being hit by severe financial penalties. On the other hand, the prophecy mentions a team that will rise, something many believe is related to Tottenham. In recent years, the club has invested heavily in infrastructure and players, seeking to establish itself among the giants of English football. The name most frequently associated with this rise is Ebereki Eze, a talented midfielder who has already attracted interest from major clubs. If Crystal Palace is forced to sell its top star, could this be one of the events confirming this prediction? Football, like any high-level sport, is deeply tied to cycles of rise and decline. Could Nostradamus simply be predicting a natural shift in sports dynamics, or was he referring to a more drastic event? The Premier League has undergone radical changes, including discussions about new financial regulations and the possibility of a European Super League. If these transformations occur, the impact on smaller clubs could be devastating, forever altering the hierarchy of English football. While many consider it unlikely that Nostradamus made such specific predictions about football, his quatrains have been interpreted in surprising ways over the centuries. If his words truly describe events linked to the Premier League, does that mean even the world's most popular sport is not immune to the changes he foresaw? Among the predictions attributed to Nostradamus, some refer to major political figures and events that could redefine global power. One of his quatrains mentions a leader marked by gold who will face judgment before the end, a description that many associate with Donald Trump, former president of the United States. His name has been involved in numerous controversies and legal proceedings, and his attempts to return to the presidency continue to divide opinions. But how far could this prophecy align with the political reality of the United States? In recent years, Trump has been the target of investigations, accusations, and legal battles that could compromise his political future. However, he maintains a loyal and influential base of supporters capable of challenging the traditional political system. If the predictions about a judgment truly refer to him, does this mean his return to power is doomed, or could he become even stronger in the face of these challenges? History shows that controversial figures often find unexpected ways to reclaim their position, and Trump may be no exception. Another part of the prophecies mentions a man of iron who manipulates the fate of kings, which many interpret as a reference to Elon Musk. The billionaire, founder of Tesla and SpaceX, has been expanding his global influence, involving himself in political, technological, and even military matters. His purchase of Twitter and his statements about artificial intelligence and digital media control suggest he is increasingly interested in shaping the future of society. Could Nostradamus have foreseen the emergence of a figure capable of influencing governments without holding a traditional political office? Although the U.S. Constitution requires the president to be a natural-born citizen, some speculate that rule changes could allow Musk to hold an even greater position of power. His involvement with technology, artificial intelligence, and communication makes him one of the most influential men in the world, capable of shaping the political landscape without needing to be in government directly. Did Nostradamus predict a leader who controls nations indirectly, operating behind the scenes of power? The prophecies about the future of the United States raise questions about who really governs the country. Is it the elected politicians or those who control information, the economy, and technology? Of all the prophecies by Nostradamus, some of the most feared describe a planet devastated by the forces of nature. His writings mention that the earth will shake with great violence and that the waters will cover the cities of men, phrases that may relate to earthquakes and tsunamis of catastrophic proportions. In a world where extreme climate events are becoming more frequent, these words take on an even more unsettling meaning. But which regions would be most vulnerable to these prophecies? In recent years, the planet has experienced a significant increase in seismic and volcanic activity. Regions located along geological fault lines, such as the Pacific Ring of Fire, are most prone to high-magnitude earthquakes. Countries like Japan, Indonesia, Chile, and Mexico regularly face tremors that can trigger devastating tsunamis. Could Nostradamus have been referring to a particularly destructive event, an earthquake so powerful that it would permanently alter the geography of certain regions? Beyond earthquakes, his prophecies also speak of the sea rising beyond its limits and cities being swallowed. Rising sea levels are already a reality due to the melting polar ice caps, and many coastal cities face an increasing risk of permanent flooding. Places like Miami, Venice, and Jakarta are already showing clear signs of this phenomenon. In the near future, could we see entire metropolises disappear beneath the waters, as described in ancient texts? Another intriguing detail is the mention of a great volcano that will awaken after centuries of sleep. Some theories associate this phrase with the Yellowstone supervolcano in the United States. If it were to erupt, the consequences would be disastrous, with a cloud of ash covering vast areas, harming crops, and altering the global climate. Other interpretations suggest that the prophecy might be linked to the increasing volcanic activity in Iceland, Italy, and other regions where dormant volcanoes have begun to show signs of life. Are we about to witness an eruption of historic proportions? Nostradamus also mentioned that these natural disasters would bring not only destruction, but also shifts in the global balance. If entire cities are destroyed and territories become uninhabitable, how will nations cope with mass migration and resource scarcity? Throughout his prophecies, Nostradamus made references to three great figures who would bring destruction to the world, known as the Antichrists. According to some interpretations, the first two were Napoleon Bonaparte and Adolf Hitler, leaders who plunged the planet into devastating wars. However, the greatest concern lies with the third and final Antichrist, described as the most dangerous of all. His predictions suggest that this leader would emerge during a period of great global instability, manipulating nations and triggering irreversible conflicts. But who could this figure be? Nostradamus described this Antichrist as a charismatic and deeply deceptive leader, someone who would present himself as a savior before revealing his true intentions. This figure would wield such powerful influence that he could manipulate entire governments and provoke wars under the pretense of peace. In a world increasingly polarized, where populist leaders gain prominence and nations face political crises, this prophecy seems more relevant than ever. Could this person be a political leader we already know, or someone still preparing to take power? The prophecy also mentions a period of great deception in which truth would be distorted and the masses led to believe in lies. In times of disinformation and digital influence, this prediction may refer to the use of technology to manipulate public opinion. Social media, artificial intelligence, and algorithms control the flow of information in ways never seen before. If a leader were to use these tools for their own interests, they could control not just a single country, but the entire world. Did Nostradamus foresee the rise of a digital tyrant? Another crucial aspect of this prophecy is the global war that the third Antichrist would bring. Unlike traditional conflicts, this war would not only be fought with weapons, but also with technology, bioterrorism, and economic manipulation. Nostradamus speaks of nations bending without the sound of swords, which could be interpreted as the use of unconventional strategies to subjugate adversaries. With the advancement of cybersecurity and artificial intelligence, could the next great conflict be fought not on the battlefield, but in the digital realm? If Nostradamus was correct about the first two antichrists, does this mean the third is already among us? And if so, will the world be able to recognize his true intentions before it's too late? Nostradamus' predictions frequently mention drastic changes in European monarchies, and one of them seems to point directly to the United Kingdom. Among his quatrains, there is one that speaks of a king who will be removed from the throne not by war, but by the decision of his own people. Many believe that this prophecy could refer to Charles III, who ascended to the British throne after the death of Queen Elizabeth II in 2022. But what exactly could lead to such a drastic upheaval in the British monarchy? The prophecy mentions that this king would be seen as unworthy due to his past, something that aligns with the controversies in Charles III's life. For years, his troubled relationship with Princess Diana and his involvement in royal scandals have generated controversy. Since his coronation, Charles has faced challenges, including rumors about his health. Could Nostradamus have predicted that the British monarchy would go through a period of instability under his reign? Another intriguing point is that the prophecy states he would be replaced by someone without the sign of a king. Normally, this would indicate an unexpected monarch, raising questions about his succession. The natural heir to the throne is Prince William, who has been prepared for years to take the crown. However, some interpretations suggest that the phrase "one who lacks the sign of a king" could refer to someone outside the traditional line of succession, such as Prince Harry, who renounced his royal duties and distanced himself from the British royal family. Could there be a scenario where he returns to assume a role many consider unlikely? Beyond succession, there is also the possibility that the British monarchy undergoes profound changes. In several Commonwealth countries, Republican movements are gaining strength, pushing for the end of the monarchy and the transformation of these nations into republics. If these changes take place, the role of the British royal family could be drastically reduced or even eliminated. Could Nostradamus be predicting not just Charles III's removal, but the collapse of the monarchy as a whole? If Nostradamus' predictions are correct, the history of the British monarchy may be about to experience one of its most turbulent chapters. But will these changes happen gradually, or will the world witness an unexpected upheaval in the coming years? Since 2022, the conflict between Russia and Ukraine has been one of the most impactful events in global geopolitics, triggering humanitarian crises, economic tensions, and a repositioning of major powers. Nostradamus, in his predictions, mentioned a prolonged clash between two forces that will wear each other down to exhaustion, which many interpret as a reference to this war. With both countries already struggling to sustain their military forces and the international community divided over the conflict's outcome, could the end of this battle be near? The prophecy suggests that the war will not have an absolute winner, but will instead end through the exhaustion of both sides. Over time, the human and financial costs of the conflict have increased, and experts point out that Russia and Ukraine may reach a point where neither can sustain a long-term offensive. Nostradamus speaks of men exhausted and weakened kingdoms, which may indicate that both countries will eventually be forced into an agreement, even if it does not fully satisfy either side. Will the resolution of this war come through a ceasefire dictated by reality rather than a military victory? Another passage in Nostradamus' writings mentions gold and silver being set aside, replaced by a new value. This could be interpreted as a reference to the war's economic impact, which has already led to global inflation and an increased reliance on new currencies and alternative trading systems, such as cryptocurrencies and financial alternatives to the dollar. Additionally, the prophecy mentions the crest of the rooster and the crescent moon, symbols that could be related to France and Turkey. Both countries have played significant roles in peace negotiations, and it is possible that Nostradamus foresaw their active participation in resolving the conflict. The war has also accelerated changes in international politics. With Ukraine seeking support from the European Union and NATO, and Russia strengthening its ties with China and other allies, the world is witnessing a reconfiguration of global alliances. Nostradamus wrote about a new pact between nations that will divide the old empires, which could refer to the growing rivalry between political and economic blocs. If this prophecy is accurate, the Russia-Ukraine war will not only come to an end, but will also mark the beginning of a new era of indirect disputes between world powers. If Nostradamus' prediction comes true, the war may end in an unexpected way, not with an overwhelming victory, but with a stalemate that leads to a radical shift in the world order. Will the solution to this conflict come from an unexpected negotiation, or will it continue indefinitely, reshaping global stability? Nostradamus made several predictions that seem to point toward humanity's future beyond Earth. In one of his quatrains, he mentions men who will leave their land never to return, which many interpret as a reference to space colonization. In recent years, technological advancements and the growing interest in interplanetary exploration have made this idea increasingly plausible. With initiatives such as NASA's Artemis missions and SpaceX's ambitious projects, could Nostradamus have foreseen humanity's transition to a multiplanetary civilization? The 21st century space race is no longer dominated solely by governments. Private companies such as SpaceX and Blue Origin are accelerating the development of technologies that promise to make interplanetary travel accessible and frequent. Elon Musk, one of the main visionaries of this new era, has stated his intention to establish a colony on Mars by 2050. Nostradamus mentioned a new empire under a reddish sky, which could be related to the colonization of the Red Planet. But what challenges could prevent this achievement? Space exploration comes with immense risks. Cosmic radiation, the absence of oxygen, and extreme temperatures are just a few of the obstacles that must be overcome for humans to live beyond Earth. Additionally, Nostradamus referred to a fire that will come from the skies before the new era, something that could be interpreted as a disaster involving a space mission. Could this prediction be related to a fatal accident in one of the upcoming colonization attempts? Another factor to consider is the geopolitical impact of space exploration. As countries develop their own technologies to reach Mars and beyond, competition for extraterrestrial resources could become a new battleground among nations. Nostradamus mentions men disputing riches that belong to no king, which could be linked to space mining and the exploitation of asteroids rich in precious metals. If the gold rush shaped Earth's history, could the quest for space resources trigger new conflicts? If Nostradamus' predictions are correct, humanity is about to take one of the most significant steps in its existence. But will this transition be peaceful, or will we face challenges that could put our own future at risk? History has shown that many times surprising events seem to have been predicted long before they happened. Nostradamus' prophecies continue to intrigue scholars and enthusiasts alike, as despite being written centuries ago, many of them seem to accurately describe events shaping the present and potentially defining the future. Wars, technological revolutions, natural disasters, and the conquest of space are just some of the transformations he may have foreseen. But are these predictions true visions of destiny, or merely interpretations that fit as events unfold? Whether coincidence or not, the changes the world faces today carry echoes of the words left by Nostradamus. What once seemed impossible is now becoming reality through advancements in science, politics, and human behavior. Is there still time to prevent some of the darker predictions, or has humanity already embarked on an inevitable path? If you enjoyed this journey of discoveries, don't forget to leave a like, share it with your friends, and comment below on what caught your attention the most. Maybe others will relate, and we can create a great discussion. And of course, subscribe to the channel for more content where curiosity knows no limits.